So I am live. So I've hit 1,000 subscribers. So it's pretty exciting. So I just wanted to thank everyone for subscribing and watching. If you don't know, I have Instagram and Twitter for the channel. Just check it out. I don't know. It was just exciting. Just want to do a live Q&A. I doubt anyone's going to show up. That's okay. But here we are. So let's see. This year's been pretty crazy. The town has been going nuts. Like Los Angeles, there's just constant work. For like over the summer, it was almost impossible to find anyone to work on anything. So I remember there was a few jobs I got called for as a first AC, and it took us forever to find a second AC. I mean, I must have gone down the very bottom of my list and the bottoms of other people's lists, and like we were like 30 people deep or something. So and that's not just for camera people. We're talking like, gaffers, key grips, everybody. Like everyone is so busy that there's just like a shortage of finding people. So it's been pretty crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I shot 2 short films at the end of the year, one in October with my Sony FX6. So that was really exciting. It's actually the first time that I got to use it. And then just before the holidays, a couple weeks before Christmas, we shot another short film with my camera and lenses. And so I think one of the next like gear review videos I'm going to do is for the Tilta cage for the FX6, because I actually got to use the camera now with that cage, and there's definitely some good and definitely some bad with that cage. And some of you have commented on it in the unboxing video, which so I'm going to touch on some of that stuff. Yeah, and so looking forward to 2022. Should be a pretty exciting year. I'm going to keep posting more videos. Hopefully I can get some interviews. It's hard getting people to agree to them because, number one, the town's so busy, like I said. And also, I want to interview people that work behind the camera, but we all work behind the camera for a reason. So not a lot of people, want to be online. So, not online. What am I talking about? Not a lot of people want to be in front of the camera. And so it's a little difficult getting people. I have a few people that are up for doing it. It's just a matter of getting our schedules figured out. So once we get that figured out, should be good. Yeah. What's up? I can't see you. It's live.
I don't know how to put a comment. There's
Okay.
no option.
Okay, that's fine. This is all live. This is all in it. Sorry, that was my wife. She's the only one watching this right now. So she was trying to leave a comment. So what was I talking about? Oh, interviews. Trying to get people to do interviews. It's been a little bit difficult. So I'm trying to figure out a way to kind of get people to do it more. I even had an interview, tried to line up an interview with a catering company where like they specialize in catering for the film industry. And in my opinion, they're like one of the best caterers in town. And I've had multiple emails with the owner, and he's like the head chef, and like he was like, thumbs up, let's do it. And then every time I tried to schedule, like find a date, I just didn't hear back, or just didn't work out. So hopefully I can get that video, because that would be exciting, because I want to do like a tour of his food truck and like everything that they have on the truck, how they prepare for the doing the catering for a set, whether it's like 50 people or 200 people, how they deal with that. So if you're maybe you're not a filmmaker, but you're a chef, and like maybe you want to like become a caterer for the film industry, like it's definitely could be a very good opportunity if it's something you're interested in, because I'm sure they get paid pretty well too, because they have to feed hundreds of people sometimes. And the better the food, the more you're going to get hired. I can tell you that, because there's this company that I'm talking about. They work on a lot of the commercials that I work on because they're so good. And they make these amazing desserts that they come around each table and they give everybody these desserts. And so, and the owner's a cool guy. And so like, I really hope to get to do that video. I also want to do like a tour of a grip truck. Like I want to interview a key grip and like have them walk us through their grip truck and like everything they have on it. What's the difference between the different sized truck packages, like like a half ton, 1 ton, 3 ton, 5 ton, like what comes in those different packages and how they kind of have their truck set up. I want to do the same thing with a lighting truck because and when you're in like the like half ton, 1 ton, maybe even 3 ton packages, sometimes it's like a mix of grip and electric on one truck. But then as you start getting into the big trucks, they have like their own trucks. And so, they have their different stands and the different things that each, department needs. So that could be really cool. Camera trucks aren't super exciting because you don't really spend much time on them. You just basically use them to load your stuff up for a company move or, at the end of the day to wrap up. So that, if you're at a new location the next day. So camera trucks aren't like particularly exciting like they used to be. Like back in the film days, the loader would stay up there and they would have the little room, their own little dark room, so they could go in and change the mags and load and unload and stuff like that. And so, those trucks aren't really around anymore. What's up?
You have to enable the comments section.
Oh, okay. Apparently I have to enable comments. I thought it was. Oh, hey, Robin. Thanks. Oh, you're not. I've got someone here. Cool. Yeah, the first AC bag was fun. Like I said, I want to do more stuff like that. Like I would love to do that with the key grips and electrics and, hair and makeup. They have all their little tools that, they use for their tips and tricks and stuff like that. So it'd be kind of cool to like find people to do those kinds of videos. Let me know if you have any questions, Robin, or anybody, if anyone else is on here, shoot me a question. I would love to hear or if you have any ideas for videos, please, like if you're not watching this live and you watch this later, please in the comments leave what kind of videos you would like to see, because I would love to get some feedback from everybody. I think that would be really great. Let's see, my wife says I need to enable comments. The live chat is working, I see. I've never live streamed on here before, guys, so bear with me. I don't know. Well, I'll just leave it because apparently it's working a little bit because Robin on there. Okay, comments work. Oh, thanks, Austin. Okay, great. Cool. What else was I talking about? So I think I'm kind of playing with the idea of starting a Patreon so that, not because I'm trying to make money from this channel, I want to be able to get people to do interviews. And so because everyone is so busy, and I imagine next year is going to be probably just as busy as last year, that when people have days off, they don't really want to do anything, or they have to catch up on everyday life. Like they have to run errands, they have to take care of their kids, or, whatever it is. And so I want to be able to incentivize with cash for people to do interviews. So I could pay them, a couple $100 to come out for a couple hours. Because when I shoot the interviews, it's really only takes me like a couple hours to do it. So it's not a lot of time for them. So I would love to get more people. And I think doing a Patreon, if I can get people to donate, that way I can pay people to come out, it would help me get some more interviews. Because I think from what I've heard, a lot of the feedback, people love the interviews. And because they talk about stuff that not everyone's talking about. It's not all about the glamour of Hollywood. It's like the reality. So I would love to do more of that. Oh, hey, Mikhail. I hope I said your name right. Oh, thanks for watching, dude. I appreciate that. Yeah, tell everybody. Yeah, the more people I can get to subscribe, I think also will help get more people to want to do interviews. Because when I was first starting out, I just had some really close friends that did it, like Connor O'Brien. Like, he's a really good friend of mine. We worked together nonstop, so he was down to do it. Mimi, the second AC, I worked with her. I actually got her first paying job back when she first started years ago, and so she's a really good friend. So she was down. And then my good friend Mark Belcher from college, he was cool. He's a gaffer, so he did the gaffer interview. He was up for it. And then Monica, she's the makeup artist. I've worked with her a lot. She's a super cool person, so she was down. But they were all friends that know me pretty well, and they were like up for it. I've reached out to people that I don't know very well, because I don't know tons of people in every single department. So I mostly know camera people, obviously. So I reached out to a bunch of people, and a lot of times I always get ghosted. They wouldn't even reply to my emails. So I really want to do more interviews. That's kind of like my number one goal, I think, for next year. So, if you're watching this live or later, let me know what you think of doing a Patreon. If you would give like $1, $2 a month. I mean, it would be just very minimal, just so I can kind of get the ball rolling. Like I said, I'm not trying to make money from this channel. I just want to get the content out there for you, for everyone, so you can learn what it's really like to work in the film industry. Because it's, like I said, it's not all glamour and glitz. It's hard work. Let's see, I've got my list of talking points here. Next year, I'm hoping to get my Leica R's rehoused. So there's a company called Zero Optics, and I'm hoping to get them rehoused. It takes, I think, like 6 months at least at this point, and you have to put like a down payment. And I think I want to add a 65 millimeter macro to the set before I do it. So I might do that first. We'll see. Depends on how much money I can make for my rentals, because I have them right now. If you've seen all the videos, Media Box is like my only channel sponsor, and I actually keep my FX6 and my Leicas there on consignment, and so they've been renting out, and so I've been making money that way with the camera and the lenses, and I've just been saving that money so that I can rehouse those Leicas. And then I rent my Teradek on jobs that I do when I first AC. I bring it on like every job that I can. I've actually made more money from the Teradek. Let's see what Robin says here. Robin says, interviews would be great. It'd be interesting how start as a first AC or second. Did first job besides school this year, so that makes it super interesting. Yeah. I've me being a first AC for like a decade, I just don't want to interview myself, honestly. But if I can't get someone to do it, I'll probably have to end up doing it myself. Maybe I'll write out some questions, or if you have any questions, Robin, please tell me right now any questions you have for a first AC or a second AC that I can add to my list of questions. That would be great. Or anyone else who has questions they want to ask filmmakers in general, let me know in the comments, so I can add it to my list of questions when I'm interviewing someone. But I think one of the reasons why I don't want to interview myself is because I'm trying to find a diverse range of people to interview. So I want to interview, women, people that aren't white. So I want to get people of all races and backgrounds and of all genders. And so I don't want it to be me interviewing a bunch of white dudes, which unfortunately, that's mostly what the industry is. But, it's changing. It's definitely changing. And so I don't want this channel to be that. I want it to be a very open and diverse channel. So I'm trying my best to diversify the interviews. So that's one of the reasons why I don't want to interview myself. So we'll see. I want to interview, female DPs. There's tons of great female DPs out there, and directors. And, there's in every position, there's women grips, there's women electrics, there's women gaffers, and so like I want to find those people and interview them. And one video that I really want to work on, and I've kind of been doing it as I interview people, is what it's like for your personal life, for relationships, and with your family and friends, being a full-time filmmaker, because it's not a normal career. You work freelance, you work crazy hours, you never know when you're going to work next, unless you like are on a TV show and you work for 6 months. But when you're starting out, you're not going to know pretty far in advance when your next job is. And so it can be hard to make plans. It can be hard to, make a date. Like, when I interviewed Mark, I did the separate questions about, relationships. And he said, like, just days before, he had a date planned. He was going on a date with this girl that he met. And I can't remember if it was his first or second date. And he got a call shortly before, and the stage that they were shooting at, I think, like he said, like a pipe burst in the stage and started flooding the stage and all of their cables that they were running from the excuse me, from the generator and from the the wall. And so they had he had to go in right then on an emergency call to go to the stage and fix all of their cabling and get it out of the water. And so he had to cancel that date, I think, like just before he was supposed to leave to go on that date. So it's like, that's just one of many things that can happen. And, it can be really tough finding, new friends or real friends that you actually like hang out with other than on set. Because you do develop friendships on set, because you end up spending more time with your coworkers on set than a lot of times you do with your loved ones or family and friends at home. So that can be pretty tough sometimes, or especially if you have a travel job. I remember when I shot my first feature film in the summer of 2019, I was out of town for 2 months. And so my wife was here, and she did come out and visit halfway through for like a weekend, which was great. But like, I was still gone for 2 months. And so, that happens. I'll get jobs for, to go to Vegas. Like, I'll go to Vegas for a week, last January, a year from now, like I think a year from the 4th, January 4th, I got a call to go to Tampa Bay to work on the T-Mobile Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski commercial. And so we had to fly to Tampa, and we were there for like a week. So it was like, right after the new year, and I'm in Tampa away from family and friends. And so it's like, and that happens all the time. So it's definitely something you have to be open with about whoever, you want to have a relationship with, more on like romantically, with friends and family, they get it. They won't get it, but they will, be a little bit more understanding, I think. Let's see, Justin would definitely like to hear more about the professional personal life balance from other industry professionals. Yeah, it can be challenging. Let's see, Robin has a question too. How do you leave a good impression as a first AC on a set, besides being reliable, focusing? Okay, so like being good at focus pulling. So I think, let me finish. I'll address Austin just a little bit. But yeah, Austin, I definitely want to get, and I've started doing it in my interviews. I'm eventually going to make a separate video about it, but I want to talk more about that personal life, professional life balance, because it can be very difficult. A normal day on set is 12 hours, like minimum. Like, so like a lot of times you're going to be working 12 plus, and that's not including your ride home. So, or to set. So, you're going to be gone 14 hours, that day. And if you're doing, a week-long job, that's 14 hours every day that you're not at home. Or, if you get on, some independent feature film that's shooting for 4 weeks, right? You're going to be shooting, especially if it's low budget indie film, you're probably going to be shooting 14 hours every day, 5 days a week, or 6 days a week, or they might start doing Fraturdays, which a Fraturday is, you start midday Friday and roll into Saturday. And so like you get home Saturday morning, like 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning. And so that's half your day already gone. And so you only have a day and a half to recover, and then you do it all over again. And so it can be pretty challenging. You just have to find. So when I started, when I started dating my wife, and before I met her and I would go on other dates with other people, I was always saying, like, I, work in the film industry, and I was very upfront with my wife that like I work long hours and I go out of town and I never know, when I'm going to be coming home. Even now, sometimes she'll still text me and say, when are you coming home? And, I've been in the industry long enough that I can tell by looking at the schedule and the flow of the day, oh, I'll be home in probably about 2 more hours, and then sometimes we get finished early miraculously and I'm home sooner than that. Or sometimes it's like I send the text after 2 hours. I'm like, oh, we're going into OT. We haven't even started the last scene yet. We're going to be here another 2 hours. So it kind of sucks. And so I think if you're just very open with, your family too. I mean, it took years for my mom to understand it. You know what I mean? Like, she's like, well, I don't understand, how come you don't know when you're coming home? It's like, because there's no set schedule. Like, yes, there is a schedule that they're trying to meet that day, but 99% of the time we don't make the day, what I mean? Or, you're going into overtime. Working in commercials is a little bit nicer because we're on 10-hour days most of the time. So like when they hire us, they're like, okay, we're doing, your rate is this much for 10 hours. So you're guaranteed 10 hours because they're trying to keep it to a 10-hour day. And so in commercials, I'm usually home after the 10. And they do hour lunch, right? So like 10 hours and then an hour lunch. So then like it's usually about like 11, 12 hours is when I get home. So there's a lot more to it than that. Let me go. Let's move on to leaving a good impression. So Robin, how to leave a good impression as a first AC on set, besides being reliable, pulling focus. So being a first AC is not just about pulling focus, which, you do need to be good at pulling focus. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. The DP that I work with a lot for many years, I've known him for 9-10 years, and I met him when I first came out here. His name is Benjamin Kitchens. I met him on like a thesis project, and he saw that I was pretty decent at it, and he knew that the more that I would do it, the better I would get, and the better I did get. And so it's just do it better, more and more, and you'll get better and better at it. But apart from being a good focus puller, you need to be good at running the camera department, because technically the first AC is the key of the camera team, like the head of the camera team. And so, yes, there is the camera operator who operates the camera and gets paid more than you, but the first AC is actually runs the department. And so you need to be able to manage your second AC. You need to be able to anticipate what your DP might be asking for or what's coming next. Always be listening for your DP's voice. Like have your ears tuned to your DP's voice, so that you could be talking to someone, having a general conversation, or you're doing something, but then all of a sudden they'll call your name, and you got to be able to hear it no matter what you're doing, so that you don't miss a call for something like, oh, they need this filter, they need an ND9, or they want to change to a 35, or they want to go handheld, whatever it is. Just be always listening for them. And then also make sure your second AC is always checking the batteries on your camera or any monitors that are on set that you need to be watching, because if the battery goes dead on your camera in the middle of a take or just before you're about to go, that's time wasted, and people get really upset, especially if they're about ready to roll. So make sure that your second AC is always watching your batteries, and even your focus monitor battery, because you don't want your monitor to die out in the middle of a take. Sometimes it happens because you're so rush and busy, but make sure they're doing that. Keep an eye on the media so that when you're on your monitor, you should see your countdown on your media. So make sure you're keeping an eye on that. So, if you're, let's say you're doing this one scene and it's like a long oneer and it's like, it takes, 4 minutes per take, right? So make sure, like, if you're about to go again, that you have enough time to get another take. Otherwise, you're going to have to cut, the camera's gonna have to cut in the middle of a take and not get a full take, and they can't even use it. So then you've just wasted 5 minutes of everyone's time, and so then you have to reload and then do it again, and then everyone's looking at you because you didn't catch it. So keep an eye on that for sure. Be aware of where all your gear is. Like, make sure your second AC knows where all your gear is. Because you don't want to misplace something, and have it organized. Make sure all your stuff is organized, and that if your second doesn't know where it is, you should know where it is. So you definitely want to learn to manage the team, and so if you're on a multiple camera job, the A camera first AC is still the head of the entire camera team. So if, like, I was on a Nickelodeon show years ago, and so I was the head of the camera team. We had 2 cameras. And so I was, delegating stuff for other people too. Even though the B camera has a first AC, they're still, looking to me on what they should do for certain. Like, if something goes wrong and something breaks, they look to me, and then I try to figure out a solution if they can't. And then if we need to call the rental house to get a new piece in, like, then I talk to the rental house and get it in, and then, and I also, when you're the A cam first, is you're always next to the DP. Stand next to them when you're not shooting, or if they're not, doing something for them already, be right next to them so that they can say, okay, we're going to put B camera over here and A camera is going to go over here. And then you're on the walkie saying, all right, A cam is on a 50 mil over here. B cam's on a 75 mil over here. And then everyone goes and follows through on their orders. So that's a little bit more of how to become a better first AC. It's not just about pulling focus. The short film. Yeah, so with one of my longtime directing partners, his name is John Mark Nail. We've done quite a few short films together, and we did a feature a couple years ago. So it's called, the short film is called Billy Bangs. It's a Western. And it just takes place in the woods. There's three guys, and they're in like the middle of a shootout. And so right now we've shot it. We've got the edit locked. Just earlier this afternoon, I sent a link to the composer that we got so he can watch it. And then I think we're going to try and have a meeting, soon, probably after the new year, to talk about what music we want for the movie. And I think the runtime is like just over 8 minutes. It's like 8.5 minutes, I think. And so pretty excited about it. It's cool. I don't want to give too many details away, but I think, I'm going to cut a trailer for it. I think what I'll do is I'll cut a trailer and I'll put it on the channel so everybody can see it. And then we did another short film with another friend of mine I went to school with. His name is Richmond Felton. He, his cousin, she's an actress, and she wanted to do a short film. So he got me, and we did it. We shot it in 2 days over the weekend, a couple weeks ago. So that was pretty cool. But the Western was really stressful. Getting those costumes was pretty stressful. And then, like, I had to fly from here in LA all the way out to Greensboro, North Carolina, and I had to take all that stuff with me. So it was pretty crazy. And then we had some blood effects, so there's some cool stuff with that. I have some behind the scenes stuff, so I think I still need to some post behind the scenes stuff for it, because we got this blood effect rig. It's called the Tarantino. John Mark bought it so we can use it, and it was pretty cool. I'll post a little video of behind the scenes on that one. That was pretty fun. Let's see. What percentage of work do I travel out of state for? How are jobs like that secured? And are they mostly from people you've worked with before or something else? Percentage of jobs that I travel for, I would say is pretty low. I would say every year I go to Vegas 2 times at least a year to Vegas, which is only like 4 hours from here. So we usually drive. Sometimes they'll fly us. Yeah, I actually got a call at the end of this year to go to Saudi Arabia for a feature for like 4 weeks, but it ended up not working out. So I would say like 10%, 15% of my work is travel. It's not a lot. And if I do, it's usually for like a few days or a week. Unless it's like some feature, some indie feature or something where they're going out and doing, a couple weeks. There was last year. Was it last year? We did a movie. We were up at like a ranch, like a few hours away from here for like 2 weeks, but we stayed on the ranch. It was during earlier in COVID. And so we were in like our own little bubble. And so we were on a ranch, all staying at this big facility. It's such a really cool ranch. It was actually where McDonald's used to own the land. And it's where they used to have their like corporate retreats and stuff. So there's like a bunch of like cabins and stuff. It was pretty cool. And then what was the other part? How are jobs like that secured? So, and I think this kind of speaks to more if people I've worked with before. It's mostly people I worked with before, except that Saudi Arabia job I was recommended to a DP from another first AC that I work with a lot. And so that's another way that a lot of people get their work is through other people in the same department. And so, even in the same position. So like, yes, even though like I'm in competition with other first ACs to get jobs, we help each other get work because like I said, that like the town has been so busy. So what will happen is like someone will call me for a job, and if I'm available, I'll do it. But then if I'm already booked on another job, I'll say, hey, thanks for the call. I can't do it. I'm already booked. Let me know if you need any recommends. And then sometimes they'll say, oh, okay, no, thanks. I'll just try some of the people. They'll try other people that they know. Or if they're still having trouble finding someone because it's so busy and everyone's already booked, they'll say, hey, can you send me some recommends? And so then I'll go on my phone. I have a list of first ACs that I've worked with over the years and that I know are good. And then I'll text them their info. I'll text them like, 4 or 5 people's info and be like, try these people first. They're really good. I know them. So that's one way that a lot of people get work. And that's for every department. There's like, that's how other second ACs get work. Grips, key grips, electricians, gaffers, hair and makeup, everyone, because, even though we're, like I said, in competition, we're still helping each other because sometimes there's more work than people going around. So you just kind of help each other get work sometimes. Or, a lot of times, like I said, if you're on a multi-camera show, you end up hiring people. So like you need to know other first ACs or other grips or, other electricians or, other sound people. And so, like, for example, I don't know if you've seen on Netflix, the Seth Rogen's Hilarity for Charity. I was the A camera team, or I was the A camera first AC for one of the main units. There were 2 units. And so there was one unit that was shooting on we had like 10 cameras. I can't remember how many cameras. We had like 10 cameras just on my team. And so our cameras were set up around the venue, and then the second camera team was like 3 or 4 cameras, and they were shooting the sketches live. And so I was the first AC of the big unit shooting the whole performance. And so I had to hire like a dozen people or more. So I had to hire a first AC for each camera and a second AC. I don't think we had a second AC for every camera, but we had a lot. And so I just like went down my list of everyone that I knew and just started hiring everyone that I liked the best and that I knew that was good. And so that's a lot of the way that you get work is from people that you know and that you meet. And same thing with DPs. It's hard to leave a lasting impression with someone if you work for them for like 1 or 2 days, because they're just going to move on to the next job and they're going to forget you. But if you work for them, a couple more times, and they'll remember you, and you'll become higher on their list, and so they'll call you more. Like an example of that is this DP that I've worked with quite a few times. Her name is Tammy Riker. She's ASC, and she does a lot of commercials, and she's been doing some TV lately. But I did a favor job for her years ago. It was a freebie job. A director that she works with a lot wanted to shoot a little short film, and so I think another DP I knew recommended me to Tammy, and so that I could get in with her and meet her and hopefully get some work with her. And so I went out and I did this freebie short film. It was only for I think we did it for like 1 or 2 days. And I don't know what happened with the short film, but then Tammy, she was cool. She paid me back for coming out for free and got me on a commercial, and I did a really good job. And so she kept hiring me. And so, I don't work with her a ton, but every once in a while, like every few months or 6 months, I'll get a call from Tammy saying, "Hey, are you available for this commercial?" So it's just kind of how it goes. The more jobs you do, the more people you meet, and then you start working with them more and more. And, you start to work with fewer and fewer range of people. So like now I mostly work with like 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd say like a 3 core of DPs when I work as a first AC. There's a core of 3 DPs I work with the most, and then there's a few other on the outside that I work with every once in a while, like every few months or 6 months or a couple times a year. So you kind of get narrow and narrow with who you work with, because everyone likes to hire people they know and that they like. And of course everyone, you got to be good, but you also have to be likable. That's a huge part. You could be the best director, the best DP, the best sound guy, the best camera guy, the best whatever, best makeup artist. But if you're an a-hole, no one's gonna hire you. So be cool. I don't know. I guess that's kind of some advice on that. My goals for 2022. So I did mention that one of my goals is to get my Leica Rs rehoused. I mean, that's not really like a personal goal. It's more of like a gear financial goal. But for me personally, in my career, I've been working as a first AC for the past 10 years. And so my personal goal is to shoot more and more and more. And so I want to get at least 25 to 50% of my work to be as a DP, because I want to shoot full time. That's the reason I went to film school. It's the reason I moved out to Los Angeles, and it's that's my end goal. So I want to shoot. So we do. I can't really say too much about this, but hoping to shoot a feature film this year. It probably wouldn't be until the summer or in the fall. So we're hoping we've got some things rolling around that are hopefully we'll be able. It would be with John Mark and the guys from our Billy Bang short film. We're kind of teaming up to hopefully shoot a feature film, like a decently budgeted feature film, and so that's a big goal for 2022 for me. And I think part of that is shooting or working as a first AC less and less. So I think I'm going to start, you know, well, I'm not going to just start. I've been doing it, but like focusing more and more and more on shooting. So like, if I get some low budget thing to shoot short film or, low budget commercial that doesn't pay very well, but gives me more opportunity, I'm going to do that over a full rate first AZ job. So that's kind of where I'm at. And that's my number one goal for 2022 for my personal career. For the channel, my goal is to get more interviews. I was talking about this earlier. Get more interviews. Maybe do some more reviews. I'm not planning on buying anything right now, so I don't know if I'm going to review too much if I don't already have it. Like I'll do a review on the FX6 Tilta Cage, the Nucleus M. Maybe I'll do a review on the FX6. What else do I have? Yeah, I could do a review on the batteries, but their batteries are not really much review on them. So I'll do some more stuff like that, and I want to get more videos that talk more about the reality of being a filmmaker and working in the industry and how tough it is. Like I would love to. I didn't do it quick enough, but I don't know if you guys were aware of the whole union strike, the pending union strike. I was all for it. I voted yes, and so like I was about to do a video about it, and then we got the email saying that they came to an agreement and stuff. But I still want to make a video about unions and why you have to join a union and why they're good, and especially for the film industry, and like how you can get into the union, because there's a lot to it. And so I want to do some videos about the unions, maybe some more financial videos if I can think of some more things, or if anyone has ideas for financial things. I have a document. I have a list of a bunch of videos that I want to do. But yeah, I want to get more videos out. I know I haven't posted a lot lately because it's been so busy. And then also I've been trialing and shooting these short films, and then, the holidays are here. And so I kind of like needed a break. Like everyone has been so burnt out this year. And so like, I was just like, as soon as I finished that second short film, I was like, I am done for the year until after New Year's. I'm not doing anything. And so like, that's kind of why the channel has been kind of dead. So I am going to get back into it. And if I can get a backlog of videos shot, I'll do one once a week, but it may end up being, a little bit less than what it was at the peak last year. But I hope to get a lot more videos out. Let's see. Robin, which role should the film industry take in climate crisis? How can it become greener? Did you hear of Filmmakers for Future? I have not heard of that. I'll have to check that out. Filmmakers for Future. Yeah, that's being green is kind of a big deal sometimes on sets, especially when, like, I know the number one thing that people talk about when we're on a set is water bottles, because when you're even just a small set, they're buying like cases and cases of water and just throwing the water bottles in the trash. And so a lot of the more responsible sets will have separate recycle and trash, and so people will recycle the bottles. But people are just trying to cut down just on that, because it's so much waste, especially if you're on like, I mean, I can't even imagine, like on big movies, like they're going through pallets and pallets of water. And so it's like, just imagine all those bottles and where they end up if they're not getting recycled. So, I mean, some other things is like, how are they trying to be green in other ways? I know, like, as when it comes to power wise, like generation stuff, I know that like LEDs are like a game changer, because they draw way less power and they're way more efficient. So I imagine that like a lot of sets are using them now. So I imagine that has cut back a lot on how much fuel they have to use in the generators and how long a tank lasts. And so I imagine that is kind of helping the industry a lot, using LEDs and better efficiency lighting, especially on big big jobs, like big movies and things like that, where they've got like big lights. They still have to use like pretty power hungry ones when you start getting into like 20Ks and stuff like that, and like 9 lights and big stuff. So, but they're definitely like better. I don't know. I'll have to check out filmmakers for future. I'm not really aware of that. I'll check that out. Unions. Mikhail was asking, yeah, assuming you're part of the local 600, pretty sure that's the proper one. Yes, Mikhail, I'm a local 600 union member. So local, it's all under, so all of the crew is all under IATSE, IATSE. It's the, what is it? I don't even remember what it stands for. Like, International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees. So that's IATSE. And so that covers most of the below the line crew. So below the line is not like non-creative. So that's, technically the DP is kind of both above the line and below the line. Above the line is like writer, directors, producers / DPs. And then the below the line is, DPs and then all the crew. So like grip, electric, camera, makeup, hair, stunts, catering, everything else. And so script supervisors, VTR, video assist, that's all under IATSE. And so each department has their own local number. So the camera local number is 600. And we're one of I think maybe the only national union. So if you're in 600, you're in the union from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast, and they have different regions. So there's the Western region, Central region, and then there's the Eastern region. And so you have to be part of one region. If you're Eastern region, you can be a part of 2 regions, but if you're Western region, you can only be in the Western region. But as far as everyone else is concerned, like I said, grips, electrics, hair, makeup, all those, every state has their own local, and they all have their own requirements of how you can get in. For local 600 for the camera, you have to get 30 days on a union job, or you can get 100 non-union days, but they have to be approved through contract services. So if you want to join IATSE, or if you're looking at joining IATSE, go to contract services website. That's how you can kind of get some information about part of the process, because you have to go through training. It's like safety training. So like every year I have to or every couple of years I have to redo some training, safety training. It's part of what the producers have required to be on what they call the roster to work on union jobs. And so you're probably wondering, how do you get 30 days on a union job if you're not in the union? So what happens is you could be on like an indie feature. Say you're on like a low budget feature and the budget is like $1 million or something like that. There's different tiers for the lower tiered movies. And so say you're on like $1 million movie or $2 million movie, and it's not union. And so they're trying not to be a union movie, because then they'd have to pay a bunch of money to the union, and then the rates would be set and all this crazy stuff. So they try to go non-union, but then word gets around, or maybe the crew contacts the union, and then the union will come out, they'll send a rep, and then they'll flip it. And so it'll start non-union, and then they'll flip the show to union. And then, if it's like a 30-day thing, you could get all your 30 days in one run. But, it does happen. It is a way for a lot of people to get in. But the way that I got in is I did the 100 non-union days, and they got approved. And so contract service is very stingy, and I've heard lately that they're even more strict about what days get approved. Like, I guess they don't approve non-union commercials anymore. They used to do commercials. When I was submitting my days, music videos don't count. And what else doesn't count? Oh, like new media stuff at the time, new media. So if it's like a web series, that didn't count. Web series don't count. So you basically have to get the 100 non-union days on like an indie feature, like a low budget feature, or like in a non-union TV show, like a really small TV show or something, which, most TV shows are union. So you just have to do it from like sending in days. And sometimes, like if it's not through payroll, you'll have to get the producer to write a letter. Like I had a little letter template that I made, and it said like, so and so worked on this job for this many days, signed by whoever it is, producer of the project name. And so you would submit that letter with your pay stubs, or with your, if it wasn't payroll, with your 1099. And so it's easier if you get jobs that are through payroll companies, because all the payroll companies, like if it's like Entertainment Partners or, CAPS, or there's a bunch of big payroll companies that all the productions use. And so all of their websites have a section where you can go in and fill it out, and they'll submit all of your pay stubs to contract services for you. And then contract services will accept or deny them. And so that's the easiest way to do it. So yeah, I'm definitely going to make a video on unions and the process and all this stuff. Because it is something that if you're very serious about joining the industry and you want to work on stuff, you have to be a union member. But just because you have to be a union member doesn't mean you should join right away. So and that's stuff that I want to talk about in the video. And they're very important, because it's the only way you can work on anything, any like TV show you see on TV, or even Netflix now. Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, all union. Most of the big national commercials you see are all union. And of course, all the movies you see in the theater, union. Same goes with all the streaming. Again, they're all union. So, if you end up your goal is to work on big stuff like that, you have to be in the union. Let's see. Can you talk about the relationship with the first AC has with a Steadicam or gimbal operator? What is the process like, and how do you work together? Yeah. So I'll use Connor O'Brien as my example, because he is a regular camera operator, he's a gimbal operator, and he's a Steadicam operator. And I work with him all the time. He actually texted me today to do a job in February. So we've got a job coming up in February. So it's a little different with each person, but most gimbal operators, they're very hands-on. They like to set up their gimbal themselves. They like to put the stuff on the camera themselves. They like to, they'll balance it themselves. They'll do everything themselves. And so I'm kind of there just to lend a helping hand. So, what I'll do is, like on a prep day, is if I know my camera is going to be on the Ronin for the first part of the day, or maybe the whole job is just all Ronin. That happens a lot, where like we'll do a commercial and like every day we're just Ronin all day, every day. And so what I'll do is like, I'll just strip the camera down and get it ready for him. So that because a lot of times he won't get a prep day on commercials. So I'll have it stripped down, ready for him to go. And then I'll just, once we're all ready, start to build in the morning, I'll bring him the camera body and the accessories. I'll bring him like the Teradek and like the focus motor, and I'll bring those cables and accessories to him. And then he'll kind of set it up how he wants it when it comes to gimbal. And then I'm just there like to put the lens on, put some media in, make sure everything's turned on, make sure the settings are okay. If the DIT hasn't come through yet, to check settings. When it comes to Steadicam, what you definitely want to do is if you're first AC, you've got a prep day, you should. If you're on a low budget stuff, they might try to make you not prep or stuff, but that doesn't really happen too much anymore. But so on your prep day, when you're building your camera, if your Steadicam operator isn't there, call them. Like if you don't have their number, find it, contact whoever it was from production or your DP and be like, hey, can you send me the Steadicam, the Steadicam ops number? And so call them, him or her, and ask them if they need like a Steadicam plate, or if they need any kind of specific cables or anything like that. And then ask them what they would like the build to be like some Steadicam operators can be pretty touchy about how they like their cameras built. So, obviously for balancing, you don't want a tall camera because that makes the center of gravity, not very good. It makes it harder for them to balance, and they have less control over the camera if it's tall. And so, a lot of Steadicam operators want there to be like no top handle, nothing, no transmitters sticking straight up or anything like that, like a tear deck sticking up. They want it to be like flat with the body. And so like the shorter you can get the camera and the lighter, more weight means more weight on their body. And so you want it to be as light as possible. And so a lot of times we'll take like the viewfinder off. Like if we have like an Alexa Mini or a LF or a Venice or something, we'll take the viewfinder off because that's just less weight for them. And then the nice thing about the Alexas is that the motors can get power. Like if you have a WCU system, you can get power from the camera, and you don't need an MDR. Sometimes, like if you have a Preston, I don't know if you guys know what a Preston is, but it's another fizz unit, like focus, iris, zoom unit, and it has a box that's called the MDR, and that's where you plug in all the motors, and then you plug power into the camera. So sometimes that added thing is added weight. So the nice thing about Alexa is that you don't have to have that. But a lot of the new wireless stuff nowadays don't really have those that much. Just Preston does because they've had that for a long time. And so, yeah, and then, you just kind of want to be there to support them, just kind of help them. One thing is you want to always have, if you don't have a support grip, like a camera grip. So a lot of times the grip department, if they don't have enough guys, you won't get a camera grip. But if you have a pretty good sized crew, they'll dedicate one grip to be with your camera operator. And so what they'll do is they'll be there to support the Steadicam. So like you're doing a shot and they're like walking around, and it's like from here over, like 20 feet down in another room or down outside or whatever. That grip will follow them, to spot them, make sure they don't fall, but also to take the camera from them after they call cut. So they'll say cut, and then they'll take the Steadicam, the sled from them, and then carry it back so that the Steadicam operator has a break. So they're not constantly wearing the heavy camera, and they'll have their stand nearby so that they can dock it. Same thing with like gimbals in the Ronin or a Movi, is that, if you don't have a camera grip, have your second AC do it, or if you can do it, if you're, go to them and take it from them and then just put it on the stand so that they're not the one, operating the shot and then having to carry it back. And so that they would never have a break. So you want to make sure that, you have either a camera grip or your second AC is there to help them take the camera after they call cut, or give it to them, when they're ready to go. So, that's a good way to kind of have a good relationship with a gimbal or a Steadicam operator. Like they can be pretty particular about their build sometimes. So just kind of, let them do their thing, and, because they have the heavy camera on them all day. So, you just kind of have to adjust your build a little bit to to meet their needs a little bit. Let's see. Hongji, I hope I say your name right. The Coen brothers choose Deakins for Barton Fink because he was at the time not union. Oh, that could be, yeah, because they do independent films, right? So like, now, after that, now of course they do big union. They're still indie, but they do union. But yeah, that makes sense that Deakins early on wasn't union yet. So that makes sense why they had that. Mikhail, thanks for answering the random questions. I'm about to enter the industry, so I'm trying to think of things I've been dying to ask people about. Yeah, totally. That's why I wanted to do the live Q&A. If anyone has any questions about anything, like, please let me throw them at me. Obviously I can speak mostly to camera, but I can still speak to general on-set stuff or, general film stuff as well. Yeah, see if anyone has any other questions. Let me look at my list here of some other talking points. I've kind of covered this stuff I want to talk about. And speaking on Mikhail's stuff, like I want to make some videos about that are like, on-set protocol 101. It's like, never yell on set, never yell across the set. Sets should be quiet. So, don't ever yell to your assistant or to someone else or, across the set, use your walkie if you have them. And then, don't run, don't run on a set because you never know who's coming around with a stand or someone's carrying something fragile like a prop or like a set decoration or something, or someone's got the camera. You don't want to come around a corner and bump them. If someone's changing, because there's ACs walking around with lenses, and so, never run on set. We have what's called like the set walk. And it's like, you're just like walking as fast as you can without running, kind of. It's like speed walking. So, never run on set. It's just a general safety thing. Like let's see, Hongji has another question. I'm also interested in the path of going in the union as one position, but later transition into another. Oh, DIT to DP. Yeah. So, it's basically kind of what I'm doing. Like I'm a first AC. I'm in the union as a first AC, and so now I'm trying to transition to being a DP. So, it's you just have to. So I think the reason it's nice being in the union now is because now I don't have to. I'm in, right. I got in as a first AC. Now I don't have to worry about getting in as a DP. So I feel like it would be even a little bit harder to get in as a DP because of the work would have to get approved and all this. I don't know. I feel like they'd be more strict about it, but I'm already in. So it's like the only thing that is going to happen for me once I'm shooting full time is I'll have to reclassify. So there's different classifications in the unions. And so like in Local 600, there's still photographers. There's assistants, which covers first and second ACs. Camera operator is its own classification. And then DP is a classification. And then I think DITs, they're kind of a gray area. I'm not sure. There's been unions kind of infighting about who gets DITs and stuff, but I think generally right now they're 600, Local 600. So what I'll have to do is I'm in right now as my classification is an assistant camera, and so what I'll have to do is I won't have to reclassify until I've done. I don't know off the top of my head, and don't quote me on this, but it's something around if you do 40 union days in a position in a classification that's higher up, you have to reclassify. So they will force you to change your classification. So if I went on some TV show and was the camera operator, once I hit that 40-day mark, I would have to reclassify. And then I couldn't work as a first AC anymore. I could only work as a DP or a DP. You can go up, but you're not supposed to work back down backwards. And so but also in that changing of reclassifying, changing your classification, you have to pay more money. So, there's utilities as well. Utilities are kind of the bottom of the camera union, and that's a good way to get in the union is joining as a utility. And so, like utilities to join the Local 600. Now, these fees are all different for every different local and every different position. I think camera is one of the more expensive ones, and so as a utility, it's like $3,000 to join. As an assistant camera, first or second, when I joined, it was $7,000. I think it's still around $7,000 right now. And then to join as an operator, I think it's like $13,000. And then DPs, I don't know what it is. It's DPs. I think it's more, even more. But the great thing about, don't get discouraged. They're like, oh my God, I had to pay $7,000 or $13,000 to join. They have a payment program. So what you'll do is you'll have to pay, I think like upfront, you'll have to pay like I think it's $2,000 up front, $1 or $2,000 up front, maybe depending on which classification you are. But then they have a interest-free payment program, and so then you can, I think it's for 3 years, so you just pay monthly payments for 3 years, interest-free. So that they do that to help you to get in. So like I was saying, it'll be easier. It'll be nice for me when I do finally transition to full-time shooting, being a DP, that I don't have to worry about getting in. So if you can get in as a lower classification, like definitely do it. Because it's easier that way, because there's more work. So like the higher you go up the chain, there's less work. So like there's a lot of work for utilities. There's a lot of work for second ACs. Second ACs work a lot, even more than me, because if you're a good second AC, all the first ACs are going to hire you. And so like you just end up working constantly if you're a really good second AC. And then as a first AC, there's less jobs because a lot of commercials and stuff, they only have like one camera. So like there's only one AC on that job. Obviously there's a lot of multicam jobs, but there's less work. So, and then as you go up to camera operator, same kind of deal, right? So like a lot of shows have one camera or like two cameras. There's not like 10 cameras and everything. So, and then as a DP, there's only ever one DP, unless you're on a big movie and you have second unit and all that stuff. But when we're talking like lower budget or commercials and TV and music videos, like there's one DP, so that's less work. So less work out there. So it's easier to get in those positions when there's a lot more work. Mikhail, I learned first to see sometimes coffin, yes, the camera at wrap instead of entirely breaking it down. Where does the camera go after that? Would it stay on the grip truck or go somewhere else that's safe? So I know sometimes, like in low budget land, you don't get your own camera truck. Production will share a truck with camera. So they'll put like the chairs and tables and heaters and whatever in with the camera gear in your cart and stuff. And so what I do with my camera coffin is I put it on the bottom shelf of my cart a lot of times. So like I'll make sure that I have space. I'll try to put the lenses on the cart and then the coffined camera on the bottom shelf of my cart, so that when I ratchet strap it into the truck, it's nice and safe and it's not gonna go anywhere. If I don't put it on the cart, what I'll do is I'll sandwich it in between some other cases so that it doesn't slide around anywhere on the truck while it's driving. Yeah, and it would only ever go on the camera truck. Wherever the camera gear is, that's where your coffin's going to go. You would never put it on like a grip truck or electric truck or anything like that, because everyone, everything's very strict about everyone having their own trucks and own gear and stuff like that. And so like it's not very, sometimes they'll put the dolly on the camera truck because obviously it's kind of a camera thing, but like sometimes the grip truck might just be too full, and so they'll put the dolly and the track on the camera truck. It doesn't take up a ton of space, and usually it's fine. Especially if you have your own camera truck, and you've only got like one or two cameras, like you've got plenty of room for a dolly, because you only have like 2-3 carts. So or if your DIT puts a cart on that's 4 carts, you can easily fit 4 carts on like a proper truck. So yeah, just put it wherever your camera gear is and put it somewhere safe. Yes, yeah. I did put it in the bottom. Yeah, when you're in, Michaela's saying he's used to everything having on one truck. Yeah, when you first starting out, you're in that low budget land. They don't have money for a truck for every department. So, like you'll, especially if it's really low budget, they'll put wardrobe or they'll put whatever they can on the truck. So. My friends are texting me. I told them I was going to get on PlayStation and play. That's okay. This is going a lot longer than I thought, so I'm glad you guys are here and asking questions. I wasn't sure anyone would be watching. So it looks like we've been going for about an hour. I'll go for a little bit longer. I'll go for 20 more minutes here, and then I think I'll wrap things up. Does anyone else have any questions? let's see, what are some, let me see, look up some of my videos that I'm planning on doing. I'll let you guys know what to look out for. Let's see. Oh, I think I have some of them on my phone. Oh, one thing is I'm thinking about changing the name of the channel. I'm not like super big on Production Pro. Thinking about changing it. Let me know if you guys think that's a good idea, bad idea. Don't really care. Let me know. I want to do a video about talking about editing. Maybe not particularly like actual editing, but like editing is definitely a place where a lot of people's projects die. So I kind of want to talk about like getting through that process and what it entails, because it's a lot more than people think. It's not just like throwing footage in and then like cutting it really quick and then like it being done. So that's kind of, I kind of want to talk about that. Let's see, the union one. Oh, day rates. I have already written a script for a video about day rates and what you can expect when you're first starting out, and then as your career progresses. I know for me, that was a question I had for a lot of people, and no one would give me a straight answer, and it drove me crazy. So I would just be going in blind, not having any idea of what I should be asking for, or what was a good rate, what was a bad rate. So I that's like one of my number one videos that I want to do. Is talking about day rates. Let's see. I'll do a video on like the 180 rule. If I don't know if you guys are, if you all are familiar with the 180 rule. It's called the line, about when you're shooting a scene, about staying on the right side of the line and making sure you're not crossing it. That's a pretty big one that people have trouble understanding. Even after they are, even professionals sometimes, or we'll be on set sometimes and we'll be like, well, wait a second, did we cross the line? And we'll have to be like, oh, I don't know. And then like the script supervisor will have to be like, well, I don't think that we did, like it's a pretty big deal. Let's see. Oh, I want to do a video on like the hidden cost of making your own short film. There's just some things that people don't think about when they want to shoot a project, like insurance and permits and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of what you can be looking forward to, and like I said, hopefully more interviews. Let's see. Does anyone have any non-camera related questions? It could be just about being on set or filmmaking or anything. I'd love to hear some questions about that. If you can, get your own surveillance headset for your walkie-talkie. Even as a PA, get your own surveillance, because the ones that the walkie rental places give you are terrible. They're the ones that like plug up your ear and you can't hear anything out of that ear, and also like it's kind of gross. I mean, they sanitize them or they give you new ones and stuff, but like their surveillances are not very good. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I have it just over here. So I keep my surveillance. Yes, I'm wearing my pajamas. I keep my surveillance in my Panavision bag. So I think I mentioned this in the video, but I have my surveillance, and so like these are like the custom, well, they're not custom, but they're like molded earpieces, and they fit in your ear without plugging up your ear, so you can still hear people talking to you and hear what's going on in your walkie. And they have different sizes. There's small, medium, and large. And so some of these surveillance headsets come with some of these, but if they don't, just buy like one of each. Some of them come with like all three, or just make sure you get all of them, just because you're not sure what's going to fit in your ear. And then then it just plugs right into the walkie. and I usually put it down the back of my shirt, and then I wear my walkie on like the back of my right hip, and then I like to clip this. Like if I'm wearing like this shirt on set, I'll just clip it right here so I can get to it, and I can just walkie someone, bring me the 25. So that's kind of how I do my surveillance. So I highly recommend getting one because, and like, you don't have to get like a super fancy one, but get a decent one. They're not super expensive. And this one's lasted me quite a while, for quite a few years. And sometimes you're on set, you'll have to use your canned air to unclog them. And so you'll just take this part off and then just blow some air in here and, clear out the moisture, because they'll get clogged up sometimes and you can't hear anything. So definitely get one of these. Oh yeah, walkies, they're a big deal. Like, and that's another video I want to do, is walkie-talkie etiquette, and talking about, why so like, especially like if you're on a job as a PA, there's a lot more to it. If you're a PA, if you're camera team, like, we just joke around on the walkies and talk smack and whatever all the time. But there are times when it's time to be serious, and so you got to make sure that you're not, like, if like we're in the changing of scenes and like there's a lot of going on, like, don't be clogging up the channel when the DP, or you're trying to talk to the operator, or you're trying to talk to your second AC or something. So you just have to know when it's okay to joke and stuff. But like I said, if you're on like any other channel other than if you're on channel 1, so channel 1 is production and is always production. So that's like the first AD is on channel 1, the producers are on channel 1, people in the production office are on channel 1, and then all the PAs are on channel 1. I think art department is usually on channel 1, because they got to hear what's being called for by the first AD. And so if you're a PA, you got to make sure, there's no joking on channel 1. Every once in a while that you can crack a joke, but like, you got to keep that channel clear so the first AD can, bark orders at everybody. And then he or she, sorry, whoever the first AD is, will, call rolls and cuts. And so if you're a PA, you have to echo that. So, a lot of times you'll be locking up like a door so no one comes through and gets in the shot. And so the first AD will say, all right, rolling camera. And then you'll say, rolling, you'll just yell it out. And then after the take is done, they'll say cut over walkie, and then you'll say cut. And then that lets people know that they can come in and whatever. And also, so people around the set, like people at Crafty, if they're close by, know, yeah, you're echoing that so that they know not to be too loud. So there's a lot of, walkie etiquette and stuff like that. I'll definitely do a video on that for sure. And like if you're on channel 1 and you need to talk to someone, but it's not like a super urgent matter, you just say, so let's say you're trying to talk to some girl named Sally, and you're like, oh, this is Leonard for Sally. And then you'll wait, and they'll say, go for Sally. And you'll say, Sally, go to 2. And so then you'll switch over to channel 2. Channel 2 is always an open channel so that people can get off of 1 and talk to each other without having to take up the channel 1. So it's like, oh, Sally, we need you to go lock up over behind the garage. She'll be like, all right, copy. And then you'll say, going back to 1. And you'll go back to 1. And so, yeah, there's like stuff like that I want to talk about for sure. Let's see. Yeah, apparently, yeah, Hongji, no one talks about it. Yeah, I mean, like it's every job has them, unless you're like, I mean, even low, like music videos, low budget, a lot of low budget stuff have walkies because it's very vital to communication on a set. Like the communication is very important on a set. So unless, obviously when we did our short films, there was literally like 5 of us, and we're all in like one little area or like one house. So like we were just like, we didn't need walkies, we didn't have them, and we were definitely weren't going to pay for them. So we were just talking to each other, but we weren't yelling, so. People shouting. Yeah. Another thing that's kind of become popular with camera team is a lot of DPs will get these things called context, and they're like these over ear, one sided, and then it has like a mic, and it's just live chat. And so they'll give a lot of times DPs that I work with will give one to they'll give one to like an operator, like the camera operator or Steadicam or gimbal operator, especially if they're doing like gimbal or Steadicam and it's like free form kind of stuff, not like a hard planned out shot. So that during the take, the DP can say, all right, now come to the left a little bit. Or like, okay, now move in slowly. And okay, now move out and then go. So they can kind of give them a little bit of direction during the take. But they also like to have them give one to the key grip and then give one to the gaffer so that they can tell them what to do live right away. So they don't have to like, it's kind of like its own separate channel. So like, obviously it's not part of the walkie. So it's like their own communication device so that they can talk directly in live chat in real time to each other. And so it can be, I personally, sometimes I get them a lot because, like I said, if they're doing something like that with an operator, it helps me to know what he's saying so that I can, so if he's saying, if the DP is saying, okay, now push in, I know that like, okay, I gotta be ready. I gotta start to roll my focus. So sometimes I'll get them. I hate wearing them because then I have a walkie in one ear and then I have a contact on the other. So it's just like, it can be a little too much sometimes. But sometimes you just have to wear them. And it's just a lot of DPs don't have walkies. They don't like to have a walkie. They don't like to have it in ear. There is one DP I work with. He does like to have a walkie with the Comtech, but most of them they don't. With a surveillance, with a walkie with surveillance. But a lot of them will use the Comtechs instead. So it's just like direct line of communication to the people that they need to get orders to. They do. Oh, gee. Yeah, they do mess up your hairstyle. If you've got like a nice do going, yeah, it'll definitely put a little flat crease in there. But I mean, they are nice, but sometimes I find them annoying. I'm sure when I'm shooting more, I'll probably want to use them. So I can't, I can only talk bad about it too much. Yeah, let's see. I'll go till 7:30 here. Let me text my friends. They're mad at me because I didn't get on Modern Warfare. All right. Let's see what else. Something that people don't really talk about. Like showing up on time. So maybe you've heard about this if you've been in film school or from other people. Is showing up on time. What does showing up on time mean? So, always make sure you check the call sheet for your specific call time. There is always a general crew call, but always make sure you check your name with your crew call time because it could be different. And so, let's say your call time is 7 a.m. Do not show up at 7 a.m. You will be considered late if you show up at 7 a.m. So you want to show up a minimum of 15 minutes before your call time. Also, you want to eat breakfast. So like if they have catering or if they have some kind of pre-made breakfast for you, you technically once 7 o'clock rolls around, work has started. So you can't be like hanging out by the truck eating your breakfast burrito. You're supposed to be working. So, show up early, gives you time to get breakfast. Nowadays you have to do COVID check-in. So you got to get in early for that too. So, now if sometimes I don't eat breakfast, so sometimes I'll show up 15 minutes early, but if it's like a good caterer or something, or if it's like a long commute if I'm like driving way out to like Malibu or something, I'll definitely make sure I leave early, really early. And so I'll try to get there like half hour to 20 minutes early. So that way I have enough time to park, go get breakfast, do the COVID check-in, And then a lot of times you have to get in a van to go to the set. Parking may not be at the actual location, so you have to allot for that time as well. So kind of, give yourself enough time so that you're on set early. Sometimes the vans are doing rounders and like you just have to wait. Sometimes I've been to parking 30 minutes early and not gotten to set till after call time just because the commute and they don't have enough vans. It just sometimes it happens. But make sure you're always at least 15 minutes early, because what, as the saying goes, is um, if you're on time, or was it if you're, oh my god, I'm gonna butcher this. I can't remember it. If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. If you're late, you're fired. So that's kind of the saying in the industry. So always be early. Michaela, any hobbies? I know a lot of people jokingly say that the film there is a hobby all the time it takes, but I'm curious if people actually, yeah, a lot of people have hobbies. So a lot of people I know like to climb. So like there's climbing gyms around here, and they will join climbing gyms and they'll like climb and stuff, and then they'll go out like bouldering or climbing. And so I actually know a lot of, it's kind of like there's kind of some funny like cliches in the industry, is like a lot of camera people like to climb. So like a lot of the first day season camera people I know like go to climbing gyms, or they go out to actual like places and go climbing. Um, some people I know, we play video games. Like I play, like Connor O'Brien and I, we play a lot of video like Warzone together. Like if we're not busy, if we're got a night off and his kid's in bed, he'll text me and say, "Hey, let's play some Warzone." So for me, video games is a big one. I know that's kind of not surprising, but I play a lot of video games. But also, like my wife and I like to go out on short little trips, like up to Santa Barbara, or we'll go to Vegas, or we'll go to Palm Springs, or stuff like that. Go little trips. Um, yeah, I mean, we like to go hiking sometimes. We'll go hiking. We'll go to like national parks. Was it last year? 2020, we went to a few national parks. Went to like Bryce Canyon, and we went to Zion National Park and hiked the Narrows, which is really cool. If you're into hiking in national parks, definitely check out the Narrows. Um, yeah, I mean, and of course, a lot of people in the camera team are into photography. So a lot of people will do photography just for fun, maybe not for pay. They'll just do it just as a side hobby, um, stuff like that, which is kind of, I do some photography just for fun. I'll go out and do some landscape stuff or some street photography. I don't do it as much as I used to, but um, so that's pretty fun. Um, what else do people do? Yeah, everyone, people have hobbies for sure. There's one girl I know. Her and her boyfriend have started like a little side. I wouldn't call it a hobby. They've kind of turned it into a business where they've bought two like laser cutters, and now they're like making custom engraved things with them. And she's even making stuff for like camera department for like filters and charts and stuff like that. But she's also doing like bookmarks and like planters and stuff, like planter labels and stuff. And so like everyone has their own hobbies. Like you definitely have time for it, because especially if you work in commercials like I do, is um, I'm not working every day. I'll work like 3 days a week, 2 days a week. And then there's gaps where I don't work. I won't work for like 2 weeks, or sometimes maybe a month. Um, so like you have time to do stuff, but it does make it a little bit harder to like make set plans. Like you can't do something. Your hobby can't really be something where you have to be at a certain time every Wednesday every week. Like you're just not really going to be able to do that, because one week you won't have a job that day, and so you can go do it, but then the next week you'll have a job, and then maybe the next week you'll have no job, and then so it's like you can't really do like really set things like that. um, so everyone has hobbies. You kind of find what fits in your schedule and what you have time for. But yeah, you definitely have time for it. It's not like you're like filmmaking 24/7, like on set, and when you're at home, I do work on my own projects. Like I'm got some stuff that I'm writing, and obviously I do this channel, and and I have some other projects that I'm trying. My plan. Oh, someone asked. I can't remember who asked this earlier, but one of my goals for 2022 is I'm going to shoot. I'm going to make a commercial reel, a commercial DP reel. So I'm shooting. I've got two other directors that I'm working with to shoot to a couple specs, and then me personally, I'm going to try and shoot one here in a couple weeks. Like hopefully, the first 2 weeks of January, I'm going to shoot a spec commercial. Excuse me, by myself. So I'm going to get some actress and shoot a little spec commercial. So like I want to get like at least a 60-second commercial reel so I can start getting commercial work. So that's a major goal for me for 2022. So yeah, you just kind of like do what you can. This channel is my hobby. So yeah, I think we're going for an hour and a half now. It's getting pretty long. I think I'm gonna wrap things up here in a second. Do first A's get married with second ACs? They do. Yes, they do. Hongji. Yeah, they. A couple of my friends, their spouses are the other first. Actually, I know two people. They're both second ACs and they're married together. And then there's some, DPs and first ACs and first and seconds. And one of my good friends, he's a first AC and his wife is a sound mixer. So like people in the industry definitely get, married to each other. And then I've got one first AC friend. He's dating an actress, like a decently well-known actress. So it's like, people all across all departments kind of can, date and marry each other and stuff like that. And so, but my wife is not in the industry. So there's pros and cons. And that's something I'll definitely want to address in that relationship video. But I just want to thank all four of you for watching and for asking questions. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing. Tell all your friends, and hopefully we can get more subscribers. I can get more interviews, and hopefully, get a little more exposure so people are more willing to come in and do interviews. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for the questions. Leave any comments down below with any other questions you have or video ideas you'd like to see. Let me know. I'll definitely take them into consideration. So yeah, thanks everyone. Have a good night. Have a happy new year. Stay safe. Don't drink and drive. Have a good night. Bye.